Hey there, so it's time to have a look at another Warlords of Draenor boss. This time it's going to be Tectus. Now Tectus is an interesting enough fight, I guess, and this is on the LFR difficulty in Highmaul. It's the fourth boss, and of course the first boss of the very first wing. Or the second wing, even. So the main gimmick of this fight is that once you kill Tectus, he will split into two shards. And then when you kill the two shards, they will in turn split into 4 motes each. This basically means that this fight starts off relatively simple, but it gets pretty crazy because the shards and motes actually share abilities with Tectus, so it gets pretty mental. Anyway, Tectus will basically just, be spawned there on his own at the very start, and he starts off at 0 energy. Now, when he's in regular combat, he starts gaining energy, and at this state, he actually cannot be killed. However, once he gets to full energy, he casts this thing called Tectonic Upheaval, which is a really scary raid-wide AoE. Well, okay, it's not scary when Tectus himself is doing it, but when a whole bunch of shards and motes are doing it, it's really scary. But anyway, Tectus and his shards and motes can be killed while they are casting this AoE. So that's definitely interesting in that you maybe just want to get one of the motes or something down to like 1% health and then DPS another one before you finally kill it when it's doing Tectonic Upheaval. Now, other than that, we just have the regular abilities that we deal with in the fight. That's just kind of like the weird gimmick. Now it's just time to cover the sort of regular style abilities that we've got to deal with here. So Tectus will gain stacks of a buff over time. Now this buff is called Accretion, and every stack that he gets will increase his damage done by 5%. This basically just ticks up over time and it can be removed by damaging him. Now if there are any nearby shards or motes, they will also get Accretion, so it seems to me that if everything's stacked up, you're going to have to deal with a lot of extra damage. Now, of course, I say here that Tectus gets the stacks of Accretion. Well, after you kill Tectus, he'll spawn into his 2 shards. They will then both start getting Accretion. Whenever you kill one of the shards, they turn into 4 motes. They will all start getting Accretion. So, you see how it plays in here. You've got to deal with a lot. Anyway, so that's what Accretion does. Now, tactics-wise, I don't know whether it's best to AoE things like the shards and, and stuff like that to keep their Accretion stacks down. I know that in LFR, it would at least seem like Accretion doesn't particularly matter too much, so the best thing to do is just to nuke down each individual shard and mote as quickly as you can, so that you can reduce the amount of Tectonic Upheavals that your healers are going to have to deal with. Anyway, so other than that, he's just got a few super regular abilities. There's one called Crystalline Barrage. This just puts a debuff on a player, and a red mist will follow that player, which just leaves a void zone on the floor, so all you need to do is run away, and try not to kite it through the healers, the regular sort of thing, really. Now this can get really annoying though for the melee players, because the mist actually originates from the boss's hitbox, so you're basically always going to be dealing with this if you're a melee. And if there is, say, 1 shard and 4 motes up, then you're going to have to deal with, like, 5 crystalline barrages going off at once, and it could be very hard to find somewhere to stand that's actually safe. Now, the other thing that these guys do is Earthen Pillar, and this basically is something that they do at 25 energy when they're ticking up their energy after they do Tectonic Upheaval. Now, this will hurt. It basically raises a massive pillar at a location. This will do heavy damage to anyone inside that location on LFR difficulty, but a normal or higher, it will kill you as it should, because you've got plenty of time to escape from this. Now the thing is, these pillars persist, you can't run through them, and they block line of sight. This makes it a royal pain in the arse for the ranged and the healers. If your group doesn't deal with these well, then it's just going to be you're going to be stacking the odds against you because, healers won't be in line of sight of people and all that stuff. So really what you should be doing is standing around the outside of the room and ensuring that these big pillar thingies are well managed. In this particular attempt, they're not well managed at all. There's pillars everywhere, and there was times when I just lost so much uptime because I was trying to run around and find a way to the boss that did not involve running through crystalline barrages all the time. So yeah, it's not a very efficient boss to fight in that regard. Now, on top of that, there's also an ability called Fracture, which just shoots a little spike up at the player, and all you have to do is avoid it. Now, on top of all those mechanics, which are the boss's mechanics, there are 2 adds. One of them is a Berserker, which just starts attacking random people and charging them out the place. Then there's one called an Earth Warper. This shoots a thing called Gift of the Earth at Tectus / the motes and shards, and this will give him 10 stacks of Accretion and also a 5% health buff, I believe. But of course, players can body block it. Now, if you body block it, you get a massive speed debuff, so if you've got, say, Crystalline Barrage on you, you don't want to block it. But anyway, if Tectus actually hits the player who has blocked it, he will gain the buff anyway, so tanks can't do this. Basically, have a few hunters running around making sure to intercept these, and then finally the ads do an AoE. Though on LFR, really, the ads don't particularly matter. Now, I just want to say that at the time of the gameplay here, I was hungover and it was really late at night, so the gameplay's pretty crap. Anyway, so basically, as this fight goes on, it gets more hectic because you've got to deal with more mechanics. You're dealing with the regular Tectus ability set, but when Tectus splits into two, you then have to deal with that ability set twice. And when he splits into two again, well, into four again, you know, when each of those shards turns into 4 motes, you have to deal with loads of mechanics. So you'll be having 5 of those big crystalline barrages happening at once. You'll have 5 earthen pillars. It's a bit mental. Now, the ideal way to do this fight on LFR is just to nuke down Tectus, then nuke down one shard, then nuke down each individual mote from that shard, one by one, just to ensure that the tectonic upheaval things don't kill your group. Because, I'll tell you, if there's 5 guys doing tectonic upheaval, that will just kill your group. Or at least with the current tuning. Yeah, so that's basically a little bit of an overview of the fight. You can sort of see roughly what's going on in the video. This is probably overtuned. In fact, we know it's overtuned. They've said so. And I'd say that ultimately what will happen is they will nerf this to the point where it's just stack and burn the entire way through. And this is going to be a really annoying fight in LFR because people won't manage the pillars well. And it's just going to get in people's nerves. Though I think that on normal mode and above, it could be a really cool fight. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this. Be sure to let me know what you think about the fight. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.